Well, hi again, and welcome back to University of Light. Today we're going to be diving into some of the material, and we'll be giving you some very kind of practical tools in order to move forward on this, so you can start testing them in your own hands right away. I think I mentioned before, one of the key things here is to actually be testing this sort of thing in your own hands. And generally, my advice would be don't take anybody's word for anything. Try things in your own hands. Test them out in your own experience. By definition, you probably don't right now have everything that you need in order to create your dream job. So some of the things you're going to need are going to be outside of your immediate experience. And some of them are going to seem a little bit odd. That's okay. Try them. I guarantee that they will be very helpful for you moving forward. Pretty soon I'm going to be walking you through a few examples, one or two examples of students and other people who we've taken through the University of Life, Creating Your Dream Job program. And so you'll get an idea, high level, what some of the strategies are, so it starts to become kind of specific and real for you. But before that, today, what I wanted to do is introduce you to what I think is the mother lode of all dream job creating strategies, and I call that creating high emotional energy. It turns out that your emotional state is critical because it drives virtually everything that you have in your life, whether it's your relationships, your health, your money, your academic success, what have you. And that's really important to understand because most people don't really talk about this. That's part of the problem. That's why things like this kind of program people are looking for, because people don't talk about this, and if they do, they often talk about it kind of in the pejorative, or they talk about it from a very negative perspective. And so in fact, to get what people actually need, which is starting with a high emotional energy state, often people in the world give out the opposite of that. Today we're going to be talking about a number of things related to your emotional energy state. So how your emotional state drives your results, how to identify your emotional energy state, and how to improve your energy state on an ongoing basis. The result of this is pretty cool. Being in a high emotional energy state means you get to be happier by definition, more creative, more appreciative of everything around you, and as a result, that actually will set up the conditions that will drive a whole bunch of great things into your life while you get to be happier. How does this work? Well, part of this is kind of running it through your own experience, using your brain as a kind of a living laboratory. So with that, let's run a very simple mind experiment. Think about a time when you've been in a low energy state. So a common one is annoyance or anger. So think about a time when you were angry with somebody. Could have been a friend, could have been your brother or sister, or your parents, or it could have been somebody who cut you off on the road, something like that. My question for you is, how did that work for you? Being in that emotional energy state, did it lead to productive relationships for you with that person off into the future? Did it make you feel better in the long term? What sort of impact did it have on other people around you? Now, in contrast, think of a situation where you had a great relationship with someone else and you were in a high emotional energy state. Maybe you were feeling appreciative of them, or you were feeling optimistic about the future, or you were just in a state of kind of calm and ease. All of these are high emotional energy states. Generally, in that kind of situation, how did that work for you? Did it tend to lead to more productive outcomes for you and for them? And how did it make you feel, and how did it make them feel? The reality is that our emotional energy state has a huge impact on our outcomes, but we rarely recognize it in this culture. Let's take a practical example. Suppose you're in a job interview. Imagine the impact of being in a low emotional energy state in a job interview. So that means maybe being bored, or scared, or angry, or resentful, or feeling entitled. How is that likely to work for you compared to going into a job interview where you feel passionate about what the job is about, or you feel inspired, or you feel appreciative of the people in the interview, or you just feel in a state of just kind of confident, comfortable ease, how is that likely to impact on that job interview? Imagine being in a low energy state and this becoming a lifestyle. Imagine if you were in a low energy state continually and you weren't even aware of it. You weren't even aware what your emotional energy state was, let alone the impact that it had on the outcomes that you want. And imagine that became an ongoing lifestyle, day after day, year after year. You probably know people like that. They're the people that are more or less regularly living in a state of being critical of others, critical of themselves, doubtful of the possibility that things can improve. You can imagine what kinds of outcomes that results in for people like that. So fortunately, though, we're going to be talking about how to move past all of that. So on a regular basis, you can live in a higher energy state and how that will drive the creation of your dream job for you. And so I know this sounds kind of philosophical and psychological and all that sort of thing. Believe me, it's absolutely critical for moving forward. And in a little bit, we'll have some examples of people who've experienced this, and they can tell you in their own words why it's so important. Why is it that a high energy state works so much better than a low energy state? Well, a lot of it has to do with cognitive psychology. How your brain maps reality in different emotional states and the kinds of ideas it comes up with when it's in those states. So, for example, if you're angry and frustrated, your brain actually believes that things are bad, and often that situations or people are a threat to you. The key to understand here is that that's not actually real. It's just your brain interprets it as being real. It becomes real for you. Without some powerful tools for self-awareness, it becomes very real for you. And the ideas that your brain comes up with, for example, in terms of how to move forward on your dream job, are not really great ideas. If you're really angry with someone else, you come up with ideas frequently like, hey, this person is stupid, I'm going to get them, or something like that. You might come up with ideas like, hey, this person is really a threat, or this situation is a threat. I'm going to withdraw from it. I'm going to retreat and give up on my objective. So very critical how this emotional state actually creates your reality for you and the impact on your behavior, and as a result, the impact on your outcomes. So how do we deal with this then? Well, first step is to become aware of what your emotional state is, and then begin raising your emotional state on a regular basis, not in huge leaps, because that can be challenging, but in small steps, bit by bit, building it like a muscle. When you begin to do this and you raise your energy state, your brain will start to map reality from a high energy perspective. So it'll look out in the world, and your reality for you will be, hey, this could work out. Things are actually pretty good, and I can see how to make them even better. That becomes your new reality. And with that, the ideas that you have to move you forward become better and better. Like, hey, maybe somebody else can help me with this. I wonder who that might be. Maybe it might be something like instead of simply working really hard and trying to force myself through to get results that I want, maybe I should take a little more time for myself. Maybe I should be doing a little more exercise. Maybe I should be doing a little more time for relaxation. All of these, it turns out, are extremely powerful. What happens is that as you get on this cycle of building this emotional muscle, you'll start going on a continual upward spiral, and the results will just get better and better. You'll start feeling happier, you'll feel better, and the results that you get will become better and better and better. So again, this is one of these things where you have to try it out in your hands, and don't take my word for it. Try it out in your own hands, and I'm going to give you in a second here a couple of exercises to help with this. It turns out that the science of cognitive psychology, and also it turns out that some of the ancient traditions, the wisdom traditions, have some really good ways to move forward on this. I'm going to talk about a couple of these today. One is meditation. I think I've mentioned this before. 5 or 10 minutes in the morning of meditation over a period of a few weeks, a couple of months, you're going to find that this can have really profound impacts for you. Part of it is because it puts you in a place where you can actually watch your thoughts internally, and you can start to see the kind of stuff that you're telling yourself on a regular basis. Lots of times it turns out it's stuff that's very destructive. It's low energy. It's yourself telling yourself that you can't do stuff, or that things aren't going to work out, or that someone's really difficult. You start to become aware of that, and you start to be in a position where you can replace that internal dialogue with something much more positive, and that's going to be very helpful in moving you up on that upward spiral. The second thing I'm going to want to talk about is a thing called the emotional grid exercise. Now, this turns out is straight cognitive psychology, very effective stuff. It turns out that this particular piece called the emotional grid exercise comes from a lady by the name of Esther Hicks, who is really brilliant at describing this kind of stuff and making it very practical and real for people, so they can make these kind of changes in the way they map the world, and as a result, the results that they get. So to get a feeling for how this works, take a look at the figure here. You'll see that what it does is it simply shows a range of human emotions, starting at the bottom with low emotional energy states, and then moving up step by step to high, very high emotional energy states like bliss, love, appreciation, all that sort of thing. Here's what you do. Very simple. First, you identify where you are on the grid, emotions-wise. So you might look at the grid, and it'll depend, but say you're in a state of worry. That's the first step, is realize what state you're in. Recognize that if you can move up a step, you'll feel better, and you'll actually have better results. So start with the state that you're at right now, and what you do is you feel the feeling, and that won't be hard, because if you're worried, you'll be feeling the feeling of worry. So just feel that feeling, and then describe it to yourself in your own words. So you might say something like, yeah, I'm worried, and worry is that feeling where I feel anxious about something that I'm afraid might happen. So you feel that feeling. Then you go up a notch. That might be on the grid. I think that's doubt. So you go up a notch, and you recognize what the feeling of doubt feels like. You feel that feeling of doubt. It's just a little bit better than worry. And you describe it to yourself like, yeah, doubt is that feeling when I don't think things are going to work out very well for me. So you feel that feeling for a few seconds or a minute or so. And you just keep going up the grid step by step by step. Just go as high as feels comfortable. If you don't feel that you can, really feel this a state of like super passion and excitement, don't worry about it. Go as high as feels comfortable for you. Over time, you're going to find, over a period of days and weeks, you're going to be able to go higher and higher on a more consistent basis. So you might get to a state of contentment, and just go, feel the feeling of contentment. It's not a rational process, it's an emotional process. So you feel the feeling of contentment. And you might might say to yourself, yeah, contentment is that feeling where I feel that things are absolutely, they're just fine. Things are okay right now. Do this on a regular basis for, a few minutes in the morning. Map your emotional state, raise yourself up. I guarantee that over time, you're going to find that on a much more consistent basis, you'll feel a lot better. And as a result, for a whole bunch of reasons, the world is going to seem like a different place to you. The ideas that you're going to get are going to seem way better. The way you interact with other people that can help you is going to become way more effective. And the kind of results that you're going to create are going to get better and better. Please do this. We're going to be talking about some strategic things that I'm going to be showing you a little bit later. But this is like the supercharger that informs all of this, that helps with all of this. Try it for 21 days. Psychologists say 21 days, 60 days, something like that is about the time doing this kind of thing that it takes to create a change for you. Try it for 21 days. Have fun with it. Share it with somebody else if you'd like to. And thanks so much. And we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.